Hey folks, welcome back. Just doing a quick video on the Stella Fortuna. Basically, it's the St. Patty's event that they do annually. Last year they had some pretty interesting skins. I noticed it looks like they've changed the hue on some of these paint jobs a little bit. But what they've done this time around is they've kind of split they've split the into two themes. They have the racing theme, and then they have the kind of like the mission combat theme. Because if I click on you know if I click on the race, it kicks me into all of these racing ships, or what they're trying to designate as the racing role. And it's kind of like introducing like different teams and whatnot, which is all artificial. And then they're as you get down towards the bottom, they're soliciting these all of these racing variants. And the problem that I always talk about is that on a lot of these ships, if you're a new player, you have to understand. How when you play other games, they'll like World of Tanks or War Thunder, there's power creep. Well, in this game, there's not necessarily power creep, there's development creep. And so if you buy a ship that was made, let's say 10 years ago, the production quality is so lackluster compared to ships that are developed today. Like you'll and I use this word fidelity all the time. Um, and like to give some examples about that, a good example of fidelity would be like you click on a little button and a cargo box opens up, and a little box extracts out, and you can interact with the modules. Or you push a button and a weapon rack unfolds, and then you can put your weapon in that weapon rack, and then push the button and it extracts back in. And so it's a lot more immersive experience. And so the problem is a lot of these vehicles that were done a while ago don't have fidelity. And you as a new consumer wouldn't know that until you spent the money. And so, like, for example, and so when I do these videos, I do it through that context because I like that immersive experience. So I digress. I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole. But so like the Fury, amazing fidelity. Biggest drawback is no quantum drive. So if you want to race this, you have to take it there with another vehicle and then unload it and do your race. The Razor does have the quantum drive, so you can fly this to your. I'm doing air quotes, right, in my living room, air quotes. You can fly this to the event and race it, but it's hard to justify the three times expense for the Razor. Same thing with the Stealth, and these are all very, very similar. And what's the reason why they're saying this is Stealth is because you lose the heat signature from the. It's got ballistic weapons, and ballistic weapons don't have heat signature, so that's what makes it Stealth plus the paint job. And then the LX, I forget. It's just a different weapon configuration. But that's if you look at the models, they're all the same model. So there's no physical appearance different besides the paint job and the module configuration. But it's just so much money for the experience. And I can't remember if these have the fidelity. I've owned them and cycled through them at different points, but it's just something I can't recommend if you're wanting to do the race. The only one I would recommend if you're really wanting to get into the racing experience would be the Fury. I can't recommend these others. Not that they're bad vehicles, it's just they're way too expensive for that price point. Um, and what's interesting too. Let's see if they come with more info. View offer. Let's see if they come with a paint job. I'm curious. Another problem too is you just get the 6 month insurance. And for folks who don't know, once the game hits that 1.0 variant, they'll have an insurance system that's designed to keep the economy. It's a mechanism to keep the economy kind of like functional. So if you don't pay your insurance and your ship gets blown up, you lose that ship, and but if you pay insurance, you'll be able to claim that ship, and that's where the claim system comes in. Where if you buy some of these war bonds, you have lifetime, so you don't even get a green. Also includes, let's see, you don't even get the green paint job. So they're advertising these vehicles for the Stella event, but there's upgrade. Yeah, so you don't even get the okay, they do have the green paint job, but it doesn't look like it's advertised in and features advanced blah blah blah. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything that says that it comes with the paint job hanger 6 month insurance. Yeah, it doesn't look like about this vehicle close speed. Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. So you have to buy. It looks like you have to buy the St. Patty's paint job or the Stella paint job separately, even though you're buying the ship during the event. And if you were just to wait till Invictus, you would get the 10 years insurance automatically. So it's just like some of this stuff is it's a lot of it's just marketing, but I can't recommend it because it's not very consumer friendly. But I digress. Let's go back. And then oh, see they got race. Oh, they even have the tabs, so you go fight. And this is kind of interesting. And so like here is the combat variant. Let's scroll down to the bottom. So they're kind of projecting this theme, like there's these active, clans and wars, which there's not really at this current state. That's not like I, a lot of this is um, people in their discords. It's not like there's an active guild like in other titles where it's supported through the system. This is not. This is kind of artificial. Um, okay, so like the Furies, fantastic fidelity. Hammerhead, even though it's an older ship, it's super expensive, but it's very purpose built. And the problem right now in the game is there's not a lot of missions that support. You have these ERTs and HRTs. They don't The money that they pay out doesn't support the crew needed to run this thing. Because when you start splitting up, let's say you have a pilot and then one, two, three, four, five, six gunners, and then you split up, 50,000 AUE. That means everybody gets 5,000 or 10,000. It's just not. It's just the mission money doesn't support the payout to fly these things on missions, and so guys will pick these up, and they just become like meme ships because and then the cost to fly these around. Don't get me wrong, it's an awesome ship, but they're just not very functional, and there's missions. The missions don't really support the gameplay of these vehicles, so it's hard to recommend something like this. The Hercules. Now this is the M2 variant. There's three variants. There's a C2, M2, and A2. The M2 is supposed to be like an up armored version of the C2, and it also has reduced cargo. And I have tried to do the truck hauler event several times, and I find that I prefer to use the M2 variant over the cargo C2 variant, even though it holds less cargo. Out of the box, the default components like the quantum drive and the shield generators are they're all military grade, where the C2 variant is all commercial grade. So to quantum drive across the galaxy in the M2 is like 10 minutes versus the C2 variant is like 25 minutes. And so because it's so much quicker to get around, I'll just jump in this because let's be honest, when you go to these little like mining stations, they often don't have enough material to fill this stuff up. Even though the cargo variant holds significantly more, you can never fill it up. So I find that generally speaking, the M2 is a much better experience at doing cargo hauling, and they haven't gotten around to implementing like armor on ships or armor value. So like all of these different Hercules variants have the same hit points. Armor isn't really represented in the different variants yet, but they're supposed to. This is supposed to be like, heavy firepower, heavy lifting. This is supposed to be like significantly more armored up than the cargo, but it's not. It doesn't really. It's not manifested in the game. But this is definitely something that I would buy in game. Right now, I have it as a loaner for a different ship that I've purchased. I think I got the Liberator, which is supposed to be like the flying space port or whatever. And they got this as a loaner, and I find that I use this a lot. And what's funny too is even though it has less SCU cargo, the physical space is the same as the C2 variant, cargo variant. So you can still stuff as much like stuff inside of it. So you can still park as many Novas in there. Or you can still park. So like they've just not allowed you to lock the extra grids in there. Like they've kind of removed the little grid SCU cargo grid spaces out of the floor, and there's like more walk around room, but it's physically the same space. So I give this a recommend, but not for this money. But if you purchase it in game, this is a good thing to work towards in game. And plus, Crusader all has a high level of fidelity, and all the compartments open up. It's great. It's great. Um, I've owned this and melted it. I can't. This is one of those vehicles that's originally it was like a guild or a clan sponsored thing, and they created this, and it's a very very jank kind of experience. And at one point, it had the little like food locker that you could open up and you could grab your little drinks out of the inside, and it has beds. But this is like a four-man crew, and so you run into the same issues where the missions don't pay out enough money to support this vehicle, and it's better than the Hammerhead, but still it's hard to justify the price. It's if I were to wanting to do a multi-crew experience, I think that these vehicles, the Vanguard, is a much better um, way to go than the not only is it significantly cheaper, but it's these are way better play group experience. So now I've played all of these, and I find, do we not have the Harbinger? Is it just the Warden? Did they remove? I thought for sure they had the let's see, view offer. There's three variances of this. Let's see. Upgrade now. See, life limited items. You keep any limited items of your original upgrade. More info. Vanguard. Do they talk about the paint job in here? They don't. They don't talk about the paint job. Up to 30% structural loss. But I have run many ERTs in these vehicles, and it's a good experience. And even though these vehicles were done earlier in the development cycle, they have a high level of fidelity. Like you don't feel like you're driving around or flying around a vehicle that was made 10 years ago. You feel like you're flying around in a vehicle that was made last year. Like all these little compartments open up, and these four little cannons in the front, even though they say they're size, I think they're like size 2.5. And I like to run ballistics because you'll get a larger ammo capacity. And with the four of them, it just does a lot of DPS. Now, some people like to hardpoint this, um, and I like to hardpoint this too because it's super jank to try to have like hardpoint guns with a gimbaled it's very difficult for me to do. So I just hard point everything. But this is a recommend. This is a great. I like the Harbinger variant, which is it's like the torpedo boat, and it loses some a little bit of maneuverability. But I prefer to have those big size 5 torpedoes. Um, and these will come with different loadouts. Like this will be ballistic, where like they'll mix and match. But all of this can be interchanged. And then the I think the Harbinger also comes with the size 3 guns mounts on the turret, so you get a bigger capacity on the turret size. So great multiplayer. Highly recommend the Vanguards. I just think the tank treads and the wheels are a little jank because there's no runways in the game, and so that's like one of my biggest kind of where I'll nerd out. And I'll be like, bro, there's no runways. Why are we putting wheels on all of these ships? Like, or we're not landing and taxing into anything. Let's be honest about, they're making us land in shoe boxes on these space stations, which is super frustrating. Um, that's kind of a design. If you look at some of the older space stations, they'll have a ring and then they'll have a bunch of spaceports where you fly in, and you'll see like this ramp that gives you a good kind of. They also do it with the new pyro stations. There's like this ramp that where you kind of like it gives you a directional, but the new space station they put up in front of Orison, they have these little shoe boxes that you have to. It's not a desired experience, but I digress. Interesting. I'm surprised they don't have the other variants. I was almost positive looking at this that they had the all three, but it says heavy fighter. So in a way, this is kind of categorized with the same like FA Lightning is a heavy fighter. The Ion, Crusader Ion, or Inferno are heavy fighters. So out of the three, I'm trying to think if there's another heavy fighter. Out of the three heavy fighters that you get in the game, um, I think that this. If you want a multiplayer experience, this is like the best way to go. What do they categorize this as? Gunship. So they're not calling this a heavy fighter. Um, I would argue that this and the Hercules, I'm sorry, heavy gunship, these two kind of share the same um, roles, right? Like, even though this is this kind of, what do they call a carrier ship? Like, this thing is so big. This is supposed to compete, kind of be on that same level as um, a Carrack and stuff. These are big ships. Where this ship is kind of more closely sized to the Redeemer is uh, mostly closer to size to this. So there's a little bit of perspective there that you got to kind of keep in mind. But out of the three heavy ships, this is probably the better multi-crew, um, because that's the gameplay experience. I like to jump in and do ERTs with a buddy and grind out like 6 or 7 ERTs, and this is a good one. I almost prefer this over, like, you could get into like an RSI. What was the one they just added? Um, was it Scorpius? And or you have the Avenger. I'm sorry, my brain just dumped. You have the Anvil Hurricane that also is a lot of DPS, right? And they're not. I don't think they're calling that a heavy fighter. Let's. Do I have anything that shows what? Let me look at my. Yeah, the Anvil Hurricane is not. Well, I digress. But I think that falls under mediums, right? So this is where it's at. This is a good run. I'm not soliciting buying this, but if you wait until Invictus, there's two sales a year where you can get this, and you get the 10-year or the lifetime insurance, whether you get it as war bond. And so, you know, uh, I would recommend, but if you're gonna pick it up, I would recommend waiting until Invictus, which is in June or July, I forget. and then just getting the lifetime insurance. And then you'll also get the Invictus paint scheme for free. In addition, if they do, whichever their vehicles they decide to do them for, and plus they'll have them on display and they'll have them for free rent. But I just kind of wanted to cover this Stella's Fortuna. That's interesting that they have their imaginary holidays that line up. Anyways, I digress. I don't want to make this too long. I just wanted to go over my opinion, right? All of this is in my opinion, and to give some context to some of these vehicles. I probably got close to 6,000 hours, and all of this is going to change. All of this kind of like experience is going to change when they change the flight modes here pretty soon. And so I'm kind of hoping that they don't ruin the entire dogfight experience. I'm a little worried that um, that the game is going to be I don't want to say vanilla, but overly simplified. I think is overly. They're going to take the flight models and simplify them down, and we're going to lose our very clutch kind of dogfight experience. But we'll see. We'll see. But I digress. But anyways, you let me know what you think. If you agree or disagree, criticism is always welcome. I got a bunch of videos up. I got like almost 1,400 videos up. And so just review the catalog, and there's probably be a lot of stuff in there, a lot of ERTs. And I don't deep dive into the editing too much because the game changes so rapidly. There's no point in dumping like 2 hours of editing just for them to drop a patch and completely change the way everything works, right? Like all of a sudden, um, the whole, like they're changing the way that weapons work here or the flight model works here in the next update. So there's like, if I were to make extensive editing videos, it wouldn't matter. All right, I digress. Thank you for watching.